sorry, an entrance into River Run. Something in my ear just said it was being recorded, so it was distracting. Sorry. Adjacent to us is the connection at Davidson Place Drive here, which is actually where we're getting our access for the Boulder Rock Loop existing stub street connection. Davidson Place Drive is an extension into the woodlands at Davidson. This is the illustrative master plan that was presented to the town of Davidson and has been reviewed one time with some comments, and this is what we're presenting tonight. Again, currently the property is 5.5 acres. It has approximately 550 feet of frontage along Davidson Concord Road. We are showing a 100-foot setback off of the right-of-way off of Davidson Concord with a 14-foot multi-purpose path that aligns with the Town of Davidson mobility plan for this pedestrian connection along Davidson Concord Road. Currently, there is not adjacent connections, but as it relates to our development, we are proposing that 14-foot multi-purpose path. The site falls within the neighborhood edge zoning jurisdiction for the Town of Davidson. As part of that, we're required to have 3 different product types on the project. So you can see from lots 7 through 13, those are the smallest lots at 44 feet by 130, which are alley loaded. The 2 kind of slightly darker yellow here and here, 1, 2, 5, and 6 are kind of middle or upper size residential single family detached lots, which are 65 by 147. And then this darker orange here are the 2 lots that are duplex lots. So we have 13 total lots, 15 total units being proposed. And again, this is an extension off of Boulder Rock Loop, which you can see here to the east side of the property, as an extension through to a stub street for future development to the western side of the development site. Again, I'll mention we have kind of multiple open space locations here, starting with that 14-foot multi-purpose path off of Davidson Concord Road. We're calling that open space / Greenway connection, along with a 10-foot multi-purpose path that creates the Greenwood connector through the development into our kind of centrally located open space. That path also continues on to tie into the Woodlands Greenway connection that's currently in existence. So this is another illustration. This is more of the conceptual site plan that has a little bit more of the technical data on it. Again, we have 3 different product types on site, equating to 13 lots and 15 total units. As neighborhood edge requires 45% open space, we are just at the 45%. And then also we exceed the park space that's being proposed with the frontage section here, as well as our centrally located park. Currently, you're only required to have 5% of that total open space as park, and we greatly exceed that at 57% with the frontage condition, the internal park, and then the section around our stormwater BMP. The neighborhood street that we're showing as an extension off of Boulder Rock Loop will meet the neighborhood yield cross section, which we are showing here. And I think there were a couple of comments in some of the information that we received about emergency access vehicles. And currently the plan is illustrated to show a backup location utilizing the alley and being able to turn around and come back out Boulder Rock Loop. This is the only point of access for the project as proposed currently. I know there were some comments that I'm sure Andrew will get to related to construction access, as well as potentially having access off of Davidson Concord Road, which we are not currently contemplating. This site plan also illustrates the number of existing specimen trees that we're maintaining in these areas. It's a little bit hard to identify, but there are several throughout the property, and we are maintaining those within these open space areas and trying to maintain them at the rear of some of the properties here along the 100-foot setback. We do have a couple of other exhibits. We had done a more detailed description of the preservation for the tree save areas, which I think Andrew had listed on the website. This basically just breaks down the number of specimen trees that are located on site based on a tree survey, as well as the number of trees that we're actually maintaining. And then lastly, we had some precedent images on some of the active open space within the property. So we have, again, a side path or multi-use path connector, the Greenway connector, which links the frontage condition on Davidson Concord Road to the Woodlands Greenway. And then obviously some site furnishings, site amenities, and then some examples of active open space by doing a fitness trail through active recreation. Again, being that the site is not very large in scale, that is generally our presentation. We're happy to address any comments that may come up.
Okay. Well, what we want to do after the presentation you just heard, I did want to go over some of the comments that I have received. A lot of the comments that have been received have been repeated multiple times. So many of you may have the same comments and questions. The first comment that I want to go about is concerns about safety, durability, and feasibility of using Boulder Rock Loop as a construction access to the site, and questions whether a temporary construction access is possible from Davidson Concord Road. And we have been notified there is a signed petition that many of you out there may have signed. I'll go over some of these, and then we can turn it back to the project team to see if they have any comments or any thoughts about these particular comments I'm about to read. The next one is related to the first one. It's a concern with having one permanent access point to the site off of Boulder Rock Loop. And again, a question of whether a permanent access point can be considered on Davidson Concord Road. And the last one I'll stop with so we can address is another question that's been mentioned a few times. It's regarding getting the speed limit on Davidson Concord Road reduced to 35 miles an hour. And a question related to that was the possibility of a crosswalk from the site across Davidson Concord Road for bicycle and pedestrian facilities into River Run. And I do want to mention, I have reached out to NCDOT because Davidson Concord Road is an NCDOT facility twice now regarding all three of the issues above, particularly the allowance of a crosswalk and any kind of distance requirements the NCDOT may have between Davidson Place and Parting Oaks Roads and a new access to the site. I had finally received a comment this afternoon from the Division 10 office that they had sent it on to another office who is responsible for driveway permits. So I don't have that up-to-date information, but prior to the project team commenting on this, I do want to mention that I have reached out to NCDOT regarding any restrictions for those three issues that have been brought up. And I don't know, Sean, if you want to kind of address any of these, feel free.
Yeah, I think as it relates to the construction access, I mean, ultimately that'll, be determined by the town and NCDOT. Any temporary access coming off of Davidson Concord Road would have to be approved by NCDOT. And at this time, we're not showing a direct access through there. So that would have to be coordinated on whether or not that would actually be allowed. I know that currently the separation between the River Run entrance and Davidson Place Drive is approximately 660 feet. And if you're looking at potential future development of this western parcel at any time, NCDOT would likely require that a driveway connection be made that adjoins with the adjacent driveway connection that's already at River Run, which would then, again, create potentially a access conflict with having another access point on Davidson Concord Road. As it relates to the speed limit, I mean, I don't believe that we have much to say about the potential of trying to reduce the speed limit on Davidson Concord Road. Again, with our kind of limited frontage that we have on here, we really don't have much of an authority to request a reduction in speed. And that would obviously have to be something that could be brought up to NCDOT for approval or consideration. I think that addressed those three items. I mean, I believe the public safety one, and again, if we're looking at existing conditions, currently the separation off of Davidson Concord Road to Boulder Rock Loop, which is currently a three-way stopped intersection. So there are stop signs in all different directions here. So a four-way stop, sorry, technically. I mean, this is 330 feet. We have just about 180 feet more than that as an extension, again, coming to a stop sign. So as it relates to, vehicle traffic, picking up speed, there's limited opportunity to pick up speed throughout this section. If there is consideration or concern for the amount of speed that people are picking up on Davidson Place, I mean, there's not really anything beyond the two speed humps that are currently existing that go all the way to the end of the Woodlands development. So that may be something that is a discussion related to, the adjacent development, and not as much as, this 13 lots would actually generate within the development as it makes a connection to Davidson Place Drive.
Okay, and I'm going to go on for a few more questions that we've received regarding the site. We did have a question about leaving trees for a buffer along the southeastern property boundary, basically along the property boundary where the current development is, the current Davidson Place development. We've got some safety concerns regarding Davidson Place and Boulder Rock Loop, speeds in particular. We've got questions about Boulder Rock Loop being too narrow for any further traffic, concerns about garbage trucks, as well as how these vehicles would turn around. We do have concerns about the proposed stub out being the only access point to the site. We've got concerns about the potential for three-story homes not fitting with the built development. Also, we do have some questions. Will there be a separate HOA? Will it be homeowner versus renter? I guess regulated. And another question was how the site will tie into the existing utilities. We've got a question about the proposed start and end date of construction. I think that'll depend on the plan being approved. And then we've got a question about the price point of the houses that are intended to be built. And the last comment is we've got concerns about the tree removal in the rear of the property for the garage access and the stormwater structure, as it's on top of a wetlands easement. And there's just concerns about affecting the ecosystem and pollution concerns. And those basically wrap up the comments that I have received prior to tonight. So with those, I'll let you speak on any of those if you feel like it. If you want to, Sean, if you want to.
Great. That was a lot of different topics. So I'll try to remember which ones they were. But let's see. Okay. So I think the initial question was the trying to maintain existing trees along the southern property boundary up against the existing development to what's being shown on the kind of plan east or the right side of the project. I mean, currently, again, I believe for these units right now. So if I go back to this site plan, I mean, you can see where we're trying to maintain as many trees as possible. And again, kind of meeting the zoning requirements for setbacks associated with these lots. Right now, we're not showing any existing trees to be maintained as it relates to the proximity between lot 6 and the alley that's currently there. However, I mean, I would assume that the same consideration for the people here not wanting to see the back or the side of that lot would be the same as lot 6 not wanting to kind of really look at the alley or the garages for the adjacent. So, I mean, I would assume that there would be some screening put in, but I don't anticipate it being existing trees at this time based on the way that we've evaluated the site. Let's see. So the Boulder Rock Loop, we're showing it meeting the neighborhood yield street section, which is the town of Davidson standard street section. And again, currently what we're showing is being able to utilize this kind of central alley, this key connection as a turnaround point until future development should happen to the, maybe the north of the project, but essentially the planned west side on these open lots. Which may provide for additional connectivity. But right now, based on the fact that we exceed 150 feet of an extension, we are required to have a turnaround for fire access. We have reviewed this with fire access or the fire marshal, and they've signed off on the maneuverability for the project. Again, using Boulder Rock Loop and then using the alleyway to be able to make that turnaround. It would be similar for any kind of waste services pickup. That same movement would be anticipated. Let's see. I mean, obviously the stormwater BMP is intended to try to control any runoff. The existing site is a vacant property. And so there's basically a lot of tree canopy coverage. And so obviously adding any additional infrastructure, we want to be able to control any runoff with that. And that's the intention of the BMP, so that there isn't a direct impact to adjacent wetlands or the stream section that is at the southern portion of the property, which is down here on this bottom side. So that is to control runoff and detain it, which is the intention of the stormwater BMP. Which ones have I missed? I think trying to remember what other ones you had listed on there. I think there was one about HOA, and right now I'm not positive about the HOA. With it being 15 lots, I would assume that there may be some association generated for this property since there are common open space areas. As it relates to the price point, we do have the applicant on the call, but I believe we're looking at starting in the 400s is the anticipated price point. But if I've spoken correctly, the applicant is on the call, so he can jump in, but I believe it's starting in the 400s.
Okay, and we do, I don't know if you had addressed this, but we had seen comments with concerns that the potential for 3-story homes not fitting in with with the existing neighborhood.
That's correct. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we did want to clarify. So the way that the general intent letter was written, it was to identify that neighborhood yield allows for up to 3 stories. The intention is not to build a 3-story home. I mean, it would, in order to be, consistent and compatible with the adjacent development, 2-story would be the max. And so, there's no intention for 3 stories. When we resubmit after this public input session, we'll make sure that that's clarified.
And we do have some questions that are rolling in on the chat, and I'll start with the first one that I received. It just says, address plans for Davidson Concord Road mobility, biking, walking related to connection from South Prong Trail with pace of development all around Hopewell, and just time to address how the homes along Davidson Concord will have connectivity. I guess I'll kind of address that one. We do have the Davidson Concord Road 14-foot multi-use path in our mobility plan, which would connect from the existing endpoint of the multi-use path on Davidson Concord Road and eventually tie into NC 73, which will have its own multi-use path once the NC 73 widening project starts. I believe that's scheduled for 2029 at this point. But so it's on the plan. At the current time, the town doesn't have funding for the whole project, but as development projects such as this one we see tonight come in, this one in particular is going to construct the portion of the multi-use path on site. And I hope I answered that question to the fullest. Next question, once again, it's another question regarding the this is about a buffer between lot 13 and Boulder Rock Loop. I think this one was kind of the same, goes along the same lines as the tree line that you had addressed on the border of the property. We have one, what are the house sizes and target market for proposed units? I think you touched on the target market, but do you have any comment regarding the house sizes?
No, I mean, right now, I'm not exactly sure if the applicant wants to
I can address
provide any additional information. Okay.
They're going to be in the alley fed anywhere from 1,800 to as much as 3,000 and anything in there. It's going to be comparable to what's on the existing community there.
Got a couple more comments that are specifically addressing the speed concerns on Davidson Concord Road. again, I think that's something that we'll have to contact NCDOT with regarding the speed limit on the road. And as I mentioned, I had reached out to DOT and I haven't gotten any solid feedback yet regarding how and if this development will affect the speed limit. But I'm hoping to have some information regarding that, hopefully in the near future. We also have a couple more comments regarding the safety issues with the connection to evening prime rows, connecting basically Davidson Concord Road over through the Woodlands over to Maze Road. So I don't know, I know you touched base on that a little bit. Once you get out of this particular development, it's difficult to require this development to enhance safety features, but it's definitely something we can look into as the town, I should say. Again, some more questions just regarding the residents of current Davidson Place and concerns about children's safety. Another one regarding the access point being on Boulder Rock Loop. And then another asking again for a separate entrance point from Davidson Concord Road, which I think we discussed is currently kind of under investigation with whatever NCDOT will tell us and how that comes back and any kind of redesign we look at. More concerns regarding cut-through traffic. Okay, and I have a question restating the answer to the next steps with the temporary construction entrance on Davidson Concord Road. I don't know, Sean, did you add anything in particular with that?
I mean, I think the only thing that we can do is have a discussion with NCDOT about the opportunity to do that. If that was an opportunity, which I think, based on previous discussions with NCDOT, there was hesitation about allowing for another driveway connection there, again, based on the proximity to Davidson, to River Run at Davidson here, and then Davidson Place at this location, with the expectation that there may be this cross connection here. And so whether or not they would allow for a temporary access, ultimately would be up to them to approve. I do think if that was the case, we would likely have to ask for some kind of option to remove some additional trees. If you could see kind of the trees and the locations in this northern section about how we could actually access the site. So that just may be something, if that comes about, that we would have to have a little bit further discussion on.
We have the question again about anticipated construction start and finish dates. If you want to address that, I think that may be up in the air, but you may have more information.
So yes, obviously we're in the master plan process currently. Following, any approval of the master plan, we would move into construction documents and permitting. So that could take potentially another basically 3 to 6 months following master plan approval to get those permits in place. And, based on the timing right now, if we were able to get approval, call in the next month or so for master plan, you're looking at maybe a start time towards the end of the year, which could make it a little bit challenging. So I think, earliest would be towards the end of 2021, beginning of 2022.
We've got a question regarding a dead-end street design. The comment is the Town of Davidson ordinance specifically states cul-de-sacs are prohibited, and asking why this is being approved. Is that something you'd like to touch on, or? Well,
currently, I believe it's the town's intention also to have connectivity for future development on large tracts of property that are undeveloped currently. So if we showed a cul-de-sac there, I think the intention would be to have that through street. And currently, even with the dead end condition, I think the intention is to make this any time in the given future that something should develop on these other portions of the property, this would become an extension to another intersection. And currently, it meets the turnaround requirements. And so a cul-de-sac right now has not been contemplated.
And also a question that's kind of related to this regarding the property to the north of this. The question is who owns it? And the second part is, will that property be accessed by Boulder Rock Loop or from Davidson Concord Road? I think you kind of touched base on that, but if you want to kind of state your thoughts again.
Right, so we haven't had any communication, or we don't control that property. It's not a part of this application. You know, I guess the intention would be, because there is an existing driveway connection directly adjacent for the access to River Run, that should this development or the one adjacent to it ever redevelop, Boulder Rock may, you know, come through and tie into whatever street infrastructure may be proposed as a part of that development. But again, because we don't have any control over that, I have no expectation of if and when that ever redevelops.
We've got a question with the non-alley lots and driveways. Where does Duplex park? So currently the plan is to essentially park in the rear of so you have the duplex building, and then you would have a driveway connection that comes around to the rear, and they would park in the rear of both of those duplex lots. And then the adjacent lots 1, 2, 5, and 6 would have direct access off a driveway to a front loaded garage or a side loaded garage. We have a question regarding asking if there's any pictures on the potential homes to be developed, and basically stating they would not like to see poor quality homes compared to what is already built.
Currently, we do not have the products designed for the lots. I mean, I think there's some ideas about trying to, again, be comparable to what the adjacent development, you know, directly coming off of Boulder Rock and Davidson Place in this location, similar quality to what's adjacent to us.
And there's also,
I'll answer that too. I'm the builder and developer of Bailey's Glen, so they'd be comparable to the quality of homes that are in Bailey's Glen, or even better.
We also have kind of a little more to that one. There's concerns regarding developers. This one mentions Lennar taking down trees that weren't part of the approved plan. I think this is more of a concern than anything else, but it's worth stating. I know the town's had some problems with some developers that have cut into tree areas that were not supposed to be taken out. We have I think the only thing we could say is that, you know, pending master plan approval, we would go through the permitting process, which would show our denuded limits. We've looked at how this site could grade, and we're able to show that we can save, you know, the number of trees that we're currently showing on this plan. So, I mean, the expectation would be that whatever the permits state as it relates to denuded limits would be what the contractor actually does in the field. We have a comment that says, so you're developing a street based on a maybe the landowner may at some time sell the land. I think that might be referring to the property to the north. And we also have a comment, question. Why is there an alley if the homes are front and side loaded garages?
So these lots 7 through 13 are below 60 feet in width, and lots below 60 feet in width required to be alley loaded in the town of Davidson. The ones on the north side of Boulder Rock Loop here are larger than 60 feet and can be front loaded.
Those are the only questions I have received. According to the document that was mailed out, we were going to start the presentation again at 5:45. So, and I didn't see all of the people that had registered for the input session. So I think we can still go ahead with that plan. I have got a couple more questions. One, why the duplexes?
So the duplexes are essentially a requirement for the neighborhood edge. There are certain criteria with the breakdowns in the number of product types you need, as well as the variation from a detached to an attached product. And so there's a certain percentage based on the thresholds for neighborhood edge that are required.
I have a comment that's addressed to myself about taking the evening Primrose Drive traffic and speeding to a different discussion and guide on how we can address this, make it a safety issue from a town priority. I would just say if you want to reach out to me outside of this meeting, I think that's probably the best way to handle this question. Another question, are there any affordable units planned to be built in this development?
Currently, go ahead, Jake, were you going to answer that?
No, go ahead, Sean, you can answer that.
I was going to say, currently there are no affordable units being proposed on site. We were going to do the payment in lieu option with the limited number of lots that we're showing on the project.
Another question about the tree line being kept between the neighborhood and Park Place. Might be somebody who wasn't on the call when the question was asked earlier. I don't know if you care to address again or if you would like to address again.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so right now the intention, if you can kind of see on the plan, these are all numbers. They correspond to existing specimen trees that are on site that we are maintaining. So you can see the locations of those spaces. And what I had mentioned before was currently we're not showing existing tree line to be saved between the properties. Part of that was kind of walking the site, or at least going up to the site with the town arborist. I mean, there was some smaller thinning trees kind of through here. And once you kind of get into being able to develop on some of the lots, I think the expectation, which we mentioned was, for lots 6 and 13 was that, the adjacent property owners may not want to see the side of that home. It's a similar condition to 6 and 13, maybe not wanting to look at the alley and the detached garages. So, there's anticipated to be maybe a shrub hedge or something like that, but not utilizing the existing vegetation.
We do have another question regarding duplexes. Asking if you could kind of explain the duplex question again. I guess it wasn't understood about the ordinance requirement.
Yeah, actually don't have that up in front of me. Otherwise I can give you the actual percentages. But essentially in neighborhood edge, based on the number of total units that you have, you're required to have a certain number of product types in there, and so are lot sizes. And so but there's a 15-foot difference between the lot sizes. So that's why we have the 44-foot wide lots and the 65-foot wide lots. Within that, you have a cap of the number of single-family detached lots that can be associated for the total number of units. I believe I believe it's 90% of the site can be single-family detached lots. And then there's a certain threshold for the number of lots that can be over 60 feet in width as well. So those are all the parameters that kind of come into play associated with the neighborhood edge zoning district. And that's the reason for having the 2 duplex lots in order to meet that requirement.
How much space is planned between the homes?
So right now we have this is just the setbacks associated. I think I'm still. Yep. Okay. The setbacks associated with each lot there's basically a total separation of 6 feet from just setback to setback line. Obviously, it's not anticipated to have that fill the entire space, but that is what the ordinance currently states for allowable space between lot to lot. So we have 10-foot front setbacks for each lot, 20-foot rear, and then the 3 and 3 between each property line.
We've got another question asking about the exit being on the Davidson Concord Road rather than Davidson Place. Again, I don't know if you want to address that any further. I know you've touched base on that a couple times.
Right. I mean, based on some initial discussions that we had at the very beginning of the project, the access coming off of Davidson Concord Road, again, with the proximity to River Run and Davidson Place Drive, was not a preferable option to get another alternative or to get another access point off of Davidson Concord, especially with a stub street connection that was linking our property to the adjacent development.
Now we have a follow-up question regarding the existing and new homes will have 2 levels, so shrubs won't give the privacy that existing vegetation provides. This really needs to be reconsidered. That's the comment from that. How are you handling the tree removal trucks and the construction trucks in such a small area in Davidson Park?
How are we handling it as it accesses the property? It's a little bit. Are you talking about street access or once we get into the site?
Mr. Maves, if you would like to maybe elaborate on that question so we can get an answer. The next one is the builder planning to wipe out natural views that our houses have today of the tree line?
Well, I mean, I think once we get into the actual placement of products within the property, it'll become more defined about what trees could be maintained. Again, the existing vegetation that is directly along this property line, when we were out on site reviewing it with the arborist, there was a lot of smaller diameter trees. And so once you get into developing the actual individual lots with the products being placed on there, those smaller trees may not hold up. But again, providing some kind of shrub buffer would be preferable. And by shrub, I mean, it could be some taller evergreens, things like that. I mean, but again, utilizing what the existing vegetation is currently on the site, we can't commit to maintaining that existing vegetation along that property boundary.
I'll send just a comment regarding the duplex question. I've got the ordinance pulled up, and in the neighborhood edge planning area, no more than 90% of the units in each new development shall be single family residential, and then no more than 30 units in each development shall be duplex. So it's somewhere, you've got to be somewhere between, I guess, 10 and 30% duplex, which in this case, the 4 units meets that ordinance requirement. Does Davidson Park have to put up a large fence to not see sideways homes in their backyard?
I mean, we're not requiring, obviously, anyone to put up a fence along their property, or against that alleyway that's there. I mean, if they choose to put up a fence on their property, I guess that's their option.
We are at 5:46, and I don't know if people would like to hear the presentation again. I don't know if anybody new has joined. If so, would you like to speak up? I don't know if we want to have the presentation again. If it doesn't seem like the attendees have really gone up, if possible, we can keep going with the questions if that's what people would like. We have a question, a comment. Are there duplexes in Davidson near the site? It's my understanding that the Mays Hall development includes duplexes as its neighborhood edge, and it was built with the same code requirements. We have another comment regarding concern for safety issues, construction, logging infrastructure vehicles using Davidson Place Road. Again, questions about children playing in loop daily. The comment says it feels like the developer does not feel this is a big deal.
I'll answer that. We do development all over the place, and we take serious consideration towards kids and training all of our staff to watch for kids. So we do take that into consideration. We are careful of what's going on. We put all the safety stuff up and fencing and so forth to keep children out. So we do take that into consideration, and we do operate in a manner that is safe for the community and the people around us.
We have another comment. It seems that large evergreens can be committed to block the view to the alleyway. Another comment is we don't need the presentation again, but we do need a solution to keep the construction traffic off of Boulder Rock Loop.
NCDOT grants as a construction access. I'm more than happy to put one in until the very last lot, but that's not up to us. That's up to Davidson and NCDOT.
Have another, Mr. Polillo's answer is nice, but a 55+ community is much different than a community with small children. Our children should be a priority.
I have 9 grandchildren, all very little, and I'm very concerned about young children. And we develop all over, not only in Bailey's Glen, but we develop in all over communities. And so I understand and value children. I have 9 grandchildren of my own.
We have another comment. What is the plan to remedy any construction traffic issues, such as existing infrastructure wreckage and or debris in the street, etc.?
We follow general construction principles. Dumpsters on site, and trash and stuff is always picked up and put in trash containers and cleaned up.
Follow-up question to that. During construction, where will trucks and cars be parked?
Typically, one of the lots will be used for construction parking. So they'll either park on street, or we'll dedicate one lot. We'll put a little stone area in it to park vehicles.
Okay, do we have any further questions? See, it sounds like houses are being developed very close together already, which is why the developer can't save enough space for a decent tree line of privacy. I believe that's a comment for the record. What is the expected length of time from start to finish for the project? Not start date, but duration.
12 to 18 months.
Ask again if there's any additional questions or comments at this time. Construction parking on street will not allow for any access by garbage pickup or delivery trucks on the existing Boulder Rock Loop stub. Thoughts?
Trucks will not park on Boulder Rock. The trucks will park inside the construction area of houses to be built. So there won't be garbage trucks picking up there until residents actually move in.
We have another question regarding construction vehicles. Will all construction vehicles have to go in and out Davidson Place?
I guess if that's the only way in, they'd have to go through there.
I have a comment for the record. It appears as though the reason for the access road is not coming from Davidson Concord Road is the developer will need to pay more. It could disrupt the new planned walkway and foliage. question. Is it possible to move the back alley further away from the wetlands to reduce runoff? My understanding is the roads are supposed to be built so many feet away from the wetlands.
I mean, we're required to keep the buffers based on the post-construction ordinance, which are being shown on the plans right there on this back section. So that's based on the county standards.
Follow-up is just a comment. The wetlands are a protected zone. We have, why does this new subdivision have to connect to us?
It's a public street.
It's a stub street to the property line.
We've got a question about the starting price point for the single family homes.
High 300s, comparable to whatever's existing in the current price range in the direct access there.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Clarification, starting at 400 for a duplex?
The duplex, that would be per side.
Duplex is per side. And again, to reiterate the question, what is single family home starting at?
High 300s into the 400s and up.
What other plans were considered when drafting these plans? It was considered to use Davidson Concord Road and avoid Davidson Park Place.
We have to access through the stub street. That's a Davidson requirement. We can't get access off Davidson Concord.
What days, hours will construction occur?
Monday through Friday, starting at 7:30 till around 6 o'clock, and Saturdays typically half a day.
Comment for the record, those are pretty cheap houses. Okay, I don't see any more. Let's see, why is Mr. Polillo adamant that they can't access off Davidson Concord Road?
I'm not adamant, I'm just, you know, we do this for a living. We can't get, NCDOT won't give us access off Davidson Concord.
The follow-up to that is for construction.
Why am I adamant about not using Davidson Concord? I don't mind using Davidson Concord for construction, but I don't have the authority to just cut a road in. It has to be approved by town of Davidson and NCDOT.
And I think we'd mentioned that I had mentioned that I have reached out to NCDOT regarding potential construction access off of Davidson Concord Road. When I find out what their response is, we should know more about that. Would construction be starting at 7:30 on Saturdays also?
What are the construction? What does Davidson allow for construction in neighborhoods? What is your policy?
That's something I'll probably have to look in town code for. I don't have that information off the top of my head.
Okay, we will follow whatever the ordinance is and be mindful of adjacent residents.
Okay, I think we have a question regarding who at the town of Davidson should we talk to? I think this may be a follow-up for, I'm not sure. Oh, is this for Might be for the construction entrance. I mentioned that we have reached out to NCDOT, so once we get any kind of follow up from NCDOT, we should have a better understanding of what they will and won't allow. Question about West Branch having access from Davidson Concord Road. Why can't this development? Again, with I think we've touched base on with the current driveway situation, we would need to get NCDOT approval, which has not come. We have not gotten comments from North Carolina Department of Transportation regarding any entrance yet. How will we learn what the NCDOT says? You can just contact me. I'm more than happy to share what I find out. Question regarding Town of Davidson says the developer can't access through Davidson Concord Road. Davidson does require connectivity. So if there is an access from Davidson Concord Road, the project will still require to stub out to the current Boulder Rock Loop drive. It's more of so, will DOT allow the project to access anything from Davidson Concord Road? But with or without that access, we still would require the property to stub out. Now we have you seen mud on Bailey and Mays Road? How are you keeping mud off Davidson Place? I believe Mecklenburg County is the inspector of erosion control. I don't know if you guys want to follow up on any mud leaving site.
Yeah, we have water trucks and stuff. So any mud gets on the roads, we will wash the streets. We do wash the streets weekly.
I have a question about, is anybody from the town that can speak to how close the retention pond and back alley is to the wetlands? Is this within the range of boundaries for protected land? If a spill occurs on the pond, or if there's runoff in the backyard? I believe that the county handles all the stormwater runoff and the wetland protection. So as part of the review of this project, the county is reviewing where the stormwater runoff is going, and also where the BMP and wetlands are. Comment, street should be washed a minimum weekly. I think this is a comment for the record. Okay, I'm not seeing any further, let's see. I'm not seeing any further comments at this time. What are the plans to connect to the Greenway? I don't know if you want to touch base on that, Sean, again, or will this be paved?
Yeah, so the intention is to make a connection as long as we get an access easement to the Woodlands Greenway connection as an extension off of the mobility plan for our multi-purpose path along Davidson Concord Road, and then having a 10-foot Greenway connector trail that runs through the property to be able to make that connection to the Woodlands.
We have a question. What is the status of our petition for construction entrance from Davidson Concord Road? The petition has been shared to the elected officials, I believe, and as we have mentioned a couple times now, that we have contacted NCDOT regarding the allowance of a construction entrance from Davidson Concord Road. Will the natural path be paved as part of this?
So the multi-purpose path, the 14-foot, I believe it calls out for a paved pathway. The Greenway connector can be like a pit gravel or something like that, consistent with what the Woodlands currently has.
And just to clarify, if this is the natural path that's currently part of Woodlands, if the question is, will that be paved? The answer is no.
Right, it would be consistent with what they currently have there. And there may be a section that runs through our open space area as we get further defining on that development area, that, you know, it may be more of a paved section in there. So it's not like a paved or unpaved across the whole way. So that there's sections that may be unpaved as they connect to the adjacent Greenway.
Well, Sean, if you want to stop sharing, I can kind of close out with a couple comments. Again, I thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I just wanted to kind of run over what the next steps are. We did have the public input session tonight. The developer will put together a public input session report that will address some of the comments we had tonight, and that will be made available to the public. We have until 5 o'clock tomorrow night to submit any additional comment tonight for the record of this meeting. Once that's taken care of, we will have a master plan schematic design submittal, which is more technical. And at that time, staff in Mecklenburg County will take a look at the more technical aspects of the project. Once that's completed, the planning board will review this for comment. And then finally, the master plan final will be submitted for approval. I advise, contact me if you have any questions regarding the ongoing conversations with NCDOT. Also, I advise you to follow any kind of planning board meetings where this is mentioned, or planning board comments, as you may be interested in following along that way. And with that, I do want to give you this is my email address. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to reach out to me, aventresca@townofdavidson.org. And with that, once again, thank you for everybody for attending, and we will adjourn the meeting at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.